Good morning, I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, and in today's video we are going to build the Trifold 2.0 wallet. Okay, we remade several of our wallets over the last few months, and we made them to where each of the card pockets was leather, individual pieces of leather, and it doesn't have the tape, the tape and tyvek method. Anyway, and so we had some requests to do the Trifold the same way. So here it is right here. I'm going to show you throughout the video there's different ways that we can construct this wallet. We can make it with less pockets, we can make it with more pockets, we can make it with a clear like ID card pocket in it. Okay, but anyway, like I said, we'll discuss all that during the video. But here we are with our we'll do a step-by-step build video. I hadn't done a video in a couple of months. I did a 2-minute tooltip this morning. We were on the road for almost a month, going to 4 different shows, and then we get back from that, and I'm almost settled back in and getting back to work, and then man, I got sick, and I was sick for a couple of weeks. I was starting to think that maybe I was immune to COVID, because in all the years that's been going on now, I hadn't had it yet, but I've had it now. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, we're going to try something kind of new with the camera angle here. Let's see how this works. I don't know how well it's going to work. I hope it works pretty good, but we'll see. Alright, so like our other wallets, everything's kind of built off the divider piece, which is this big long piece right here that separates your cash pocket. Okay, this wallet has the potential to be very, very, very thick before you even put any cards in it. It's one of the things I've never really liked about making trifolds, but we'll talk about some ways that we can mitigate that by adding taking pockets away, and then of course a little bit of skiving too to help out on the edges. But here's our main pieces that we're going to talk about. That's that divider piece that we just discussed. Okay, and then here's our pocket. Okay, I call it the pocket base, but basically on the Trifold, like this big old thing right here, you can stick all kinds of receipts in there. It's deeper than a card pocket. Okay, and then on top of it would be your T pocket there. Okay, and I've explained before, I don't like the little T cut on pockets. It's a good system, it works well, but to me it's a little bit harder to get them all nice and tight and get them right on top of each other. So if I do it this way, I find that there's less room for error in there. Okay, and then you've got your front card pocket right here. Okay, so that's what we're looking at in leather. This is what it looks like in the templates. Okay, now one of the things that we can do to mitigate thickness and is to just pull this one completely out. Okay, and you wouldn't have that big deep pocket right there for extra receipts or whatever else you want to put in there, but it would make it to where, again, it's going to be a much thinner and finer wallet. Okay, now that's not to say you can't put this on one side and not the other, or maybe you just put it in the middle and not both the ends. Totally your choice. Okay, but if you mitigate that one pocket right there, I built this wallet without any skiving or anything because I wanted to see how thick it was really going to be, and as you can see, it's pretty daggone thick. Okay, again, this is why I'm not a huge fan of trifolds. All right, a bifold wallet with skiving and everything, I can get it down pretty daggone thin. That's the same amount of layers, but again, I skived these, and then there's only two. It's not folded into thirds, so therefore, you know, this wallet would be 33% thicker if it was a trifold. Okay, so again, but the Trifold wallet is a very, very popular style of wallet. Lots of people love it, lots of customers ask for it, and that's why we still make them. All right, all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting some pieces out. For now, the only thing I'm going to cut out my one divider piece. Okay, and then on all these pieces it says to cut out 2 or 3 of them. And what that is because if you want the the ID card window in the middle or on one of the ends or whatever, then you would only cut out 2 of each of these. If you don't want the ID card window, then you would cut out 3, because you'll want cards in the center as well. I am not going to put an ID card window in this. I do have a videos showing that, but basically you would cut out this piece right here. You'd fold it right along the middle area here. I always use the, you can use a heavy clear shower curtain, or that stuff that they use to cover tables with. You can find it in the back of your local fabric store, back there where all the tapestry and upholstery rolls are. It's just a big clear roll of plastic. 1 yard of it should last you the rest of your life making wallets, because it's like 60 inches long by 36 inches is a yard. So anyway, I cut out that piece, I sew it into that small area of the window there. I fold this edge over so that it overlaps the edge of the plastic, so that when you're putting cards into it, you're not going to catch that plastic. They're just going to slide right into it and right out. I'm not a huge fan of clear ID windows in wallets, but again, there are lots of customers that are. I mean, even in all the years I was in the military and had to show my ID every single day to get on post, I still didn't like clear windows, because they always wanted you to pull it out and show it to them anyway. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, so what I have here is some 2 to 3 ounce English bridle here from Wickett Craig. It's tan, which anybody that's watched my wallet videos knows that is my preferred color. I love the tan. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and just cut these pieces out. And I'm not going to do the ID card window in this one, so I'm going to cut out 3 of each of these 2 pieces. Okay, but I'm only going to cut out 1 of these. I don't want to do 3 of these. I just want to do just 1. Okay, and again, that'll help me make my wallet a little bit finer, but yet to have 1 of these, then I will have something to stick receipts or whatever in. I'll put it in the middle of the wallet, and then on the edges, the 2 ends of the wallets will just be card pockets. Okay. All right. So, all that being said, I'm gonna start cutting. So all I do to cut out my patterns is I stick my template down on my leather, put my knife right up against the edge of it. I'm playing with a new knife. I've seen these around. A lot of shoemakers use them. They're nice knives. They're really easy to sharpen because they have such a thin blade, but I still like the scalpels, because, well, you don't sharpen them at all. You just throw the blade away and get another one. Okay, so there's 1. There's all I'm going to cut of this. And then I'm going to cut out 3 of each of the others. Excuse me. Now what I need to do is I'm going to do a little bit of skiving on each of these. Okay, let me grab my I don't know if one of these skiving knives has been sharpened the most recently. This one looks pretty good. I'll strop it up right quick. So, and I'll show you what I'm going to skive. So on these back pieces right here, what I need to skive is not this entire flat area here, but about halfway down it. I'll start skiving, and then I'll skive across the bottom there, and then back up to the same area on the other side. Okay, so that'll look a little bit like this right here. I'm going to do it slow and methodical. I do have a really nice skiving machine over there, but I'm trying to show y'all that this can be done by hand. I don't like to do it over my cutting mat because my skiving knife will dig into my cutting mat once it gets through the leather. They say it's best to skive over a piece of glass, but I don't have one. I cannot be trusted with glass in my shop. Okay. There we go. The good news is, if you accidentally screw up your skive and cut it a little far or something, it's okay, because these edges are going to be buried under the other card pocket, okay, and you won't even see them. It'll be just like this. And that's a good thing. So, practice skiving all you want. Now, the other thing, I'm going to do that to all three of these pieces, but I'm not going to do it right here on camera, and I may even cheat and use my little skiving machine over there. But the other thing I'm going to do is I need to finish one edge of each of these, okay? And then I also need to finish the top edge of these, okay? And that way they're finer, they're nicer. But I'm also going to, I've been playing with my edge creasing machine, or my heat creaser. There's lots of ways to do a nice crease, but I have found that when you put those nice crease lines on your wallet pockets, it looks nice. So that's what we're gonna do. Excuse me. I'm gonna cough for a few minutes, and we're gonna get my edge creaser heated up, and then we'll be right back. All right, my edge creaser should be nice and warm. So I do my edge creasing before I round my edges, because it's easier to hang the one side of the little creaser on the edge of the leather without it slipping off. Okay. So all I'm gonna do is just give it a nice little once over here, and that one little line sure can add a nice pretty finished touch to your wallet. And I'm going to do this at the top of each of my pockets, the trapezoid shaped ones and the rectangular ones, and then that one base pocket that we cut as well. I'll do it on it. Make sure I'm not melting my plastic here. This is another thing that would be best over a piece of glass, but you know. We're not trying to burn the leather, we're just scoring that nice little pretty line. And this is a completely optional part of this. You don't have to have one of these machines. I know they're very expensive. I didn't have one for years. I do have some manual creasers with a little alcohol lamp that work just fine, but this thing is kind of convenient due to the heat control that it has. You know, to be able to turn it on the exact heat you want, which I have it on number 4, whatever that means. It's just what I've found works best with the bridle that I'm always using here. Alright, so there we go. That was it. That's all I'm using that expensive thing for. I'm going to turn it off now because I'm always afraid I'm going to leave it on. And there we go. Next, I'm going to grab me a tiny little edger, and I'm going to edge each of these pieces just on the top edge, the same edge that I creased. I'm going to edge them, and then I'm going to use some token oil, and I'm going to burnish them. Okay, and it does take a while to sit there and burnish all these little pockets and everything, but again, it's all about that end result. And the nicer, or every detail we can put into this thing is going to make a better end result. Okay, I've got my Tokenol here. I like the clear one. We have the black and the brown also. Neither of those really match this color, so I'm not worried about that, of course. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with the clear to me. If I need a darker edge, I've always just dyed it and then burnished it. When using this Tokenol, which is some amazing stuff, by the way. I mean, this little can may be $9, but it lasts a long time. So I use my finger, and I just get a little bit of it on the edge here. And I've learned that it works best if I let it set for a little bit. I might leave it on there for 2 or 3 minutes, so I'll put it on several different pieces at once. Make sure I get all that naked edge, you know, with a little bit of Tokenol on it. I don't rub it in yet. I just kind of dab it on there to make sure it's everywhere I need it. Anyway, I'll do 3 pieces at a time here. There we go. So I'll go back to that very first piece that's sat there the longest now, and I'll use my finger and just kind of rub it in a little bit, and then I'll use my piece of canvas here and just lightly, you know, it's only 1 layer, so I don't have to work too hard on this edge. But now I've got a very nice nice edge there. Okay, and I'm going to do that to every single one of these. So I'm going to do it off camera because there's no trick to it. I'm not going to use any kind of tools or machines or anything like that. I'm just rubbing this stuff on here, and that's it. And when we come back, we'll start putting some things together. Alright, so we got all that scabbing and all that edging done. And it's actually a new day as far as filming goes. So the next thing we need to do is we need to attach the trapezoid shaped pockets. Okay, now on this piece right here there's a little line that shows you where you're going to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the paper off the back of this piece so that I can see through it. Now again, I'm only going to use one of this piece, and the other ones I'm going to sew those pockets directly onto my divider piece here. Okay, so I'll show you though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on top of here. I'll put that line right there at the bottom of the piece of leather, and that way when I draw a line right here, then it'll mimic exactly where that line is on the template, if that makes sense, hopefully. Okay, so I don't know how well that shows up on the camera, and I apologize if it doesn't. It's not a very very easy line to see on the camera. But anyway, I'm going to take and just draw me a little line, and now I know that that is where I need to put the bottom of this pocket. Okay, now since I'm only using one of these, basically I will do the exact same thing just on this piece right here. Okay, so I'll do it on this end, and then I'll do it on the other end, and that will mimic having that piece to sew those pockets to. Okay, so there's one end. And the other end. Okay, now real simple, I'm going to take some glue and we're going to glue those pieces together. Okay. Now I've been playing with our water-based contact cement a lot more lately. I really do like it. It does take a little bit longer to set up, but on an application like this especially, it's such a thin little bitty layer that it really doesn't take that long. Now where I've got shiny bridle leather here, I'm actually going to take and use my rougher and just roughen up just a tiny bit where that piece is going to be glued. Not a lot, just enough to break that finish up a little bit so that I can get a good adhering with the glue. Adheration? I don't know. So that the glue will adhere well. Okay, so I'm going to do that on both of those. And also on this one, okay, now I'm going to take a tiny bit of this contact cement. Okay, just a little dab will do. Don't need much at all. We're just holding this in place long enough to sew it together. And I'm just going to put some just on the one side of that line there. Okay. I'll do that on all three of the areas that I roughed up, but then also right along the very bottom of the trapezoid-shaped card pocket here. Okay, so again, I'm going to do that on all three trapezoids, and I'm going to do that on all three of these lines that I roughed up, and then when we come back, I'll stick them together here in just a minute. All right, so the glue has set up and not dried, but it's ready. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that template piece and line it back up again, and it'll make it a little bit easier for me to make sure that I get my card pocket on there straight. Okay, I'm just going to very gently set it down. I'm not going to push it down to stick it yet. And I want to pay attention to this top edge and make sure it's parallel to the top edge of the back piece there. I won't be able to do that with the other ones because they won't have this back piece. But now I'm going to go ahead and stick that down good. And I'll move on to the next one because again I'm doing this 3 times. Okay. Now, if you boogered up the bottom of the card pocket a little bit and it's not straight anymore, you may want to be very careful when you're placing it on there, because if it's not straight, then the straight edge isn't going to help it. You know what I mean? So, there we go. Press that one on. And then the third one. Like this one, I boogered up the bottom of it just a little bit, but it's still pretty much straight. So it'll be all right. Okay. Now, again, everything I'm doing times 3, but I'm only going to bother showing you 1 because there's no use in wasting your time watching me do the same thing 3 times. But I need to sew these on now. Okay, all 3 of these, I'm just going to sew the bottom part of them down. Okay, I'm going to use kind of a larger pricking iron. I'm going to use a 6 stitches per inch because this this seam will never be seen. It's kind of hidden. So let me find my edge. Okay, I'm just setting this up at, I don't know, a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. But basically, I'm just putting me a line on there so I keep my stitching kind of straight. Okay. I am using a piece of rubber under here so that I don't damage my chisels by using them on the self-healing mat. Anytime you're using chisels or something that's designed to go all the way through leather, you know, and then keep going, you need to use something softer like rubber. You don't want to use your self-healing mat. I don't even use my HDPE cutting boards. Alright, so I'm going to just hand stitch that on. This entire wallet I'm going to hand stitch because I enjoy hand stitching wallets. So yeah, when I come back, these 3 pieces will be stitched on. There's plenty of great hand stitching videos out there if you need one. But yeah, I don't stop on every one of my videos to show my hand stitching process and stuff because it just takes too much time. Your time, not mine. I mean, I've still got to sew it on anyway. But I'm not trying to have you watch the same thing every single time I make a video. So, all that being said, like I said, I'm just going to hand stitch these 3 pieces on. I'm going to use a very small thread. I mean, the smallest thing I can find. I think I have some 0.045 millimeter here. And I'm going to use it, even though it's not going to be the color I like for this project. because I want those stitches to be as thin as I can get them. I don't want them. I don't want to be able to feel the stitches through the leather. Okay, this is the only time, like that is a very small thread. I normally don't use it unless I'm doing things like watch bands. But again, on this, since this is going to be underneath another piece of leather, I don't want to feel those stitches if I accidentally use too thick of a thread. So when I come back, these will be sewn together. All right, folks. So I sewed those pieces together just like I said I would. I used the smallest thread I have, which is a 0.04 or 0.45 millimeter. It's pretty small, at least for hand sewn thread for me. Now, the other thing I'm going to do to, once again, just try to help and bury that stitch so that I don't feel it, is I'm going to take a flat-faced hammer and I'm just going to tap down that stitch all the way across. Now, when I run my finger across it, I can barely feel that stitch at all. So therefore, when I put another piece of leather on top of it, I won't feel the stitch through that piece of leather right there. Okay? So I got to do that to all three of the stitches that I did. Okay. And there we go. All right, now we got to glue the other pockets on top of those. Okay, and I'm going to do it the same way with all three of these. Okay, and basically this pocket is going to glue just like this on top of this one. All right, and then again, we're doing everything 3 times. So I'm also going to do it right here. And I'm going to do it right here. Okay. So I will show you one, and then I'll do the others. So what I need to do is I'll put this pocket up here, and I line up the back part of it here. And sometimes it even helps to throw your template out there to have something to bump it up against, you know, just so that you know everything's nice and flush and square. Then you're going to look at the top and make sure everything's nice and flush and square up here. All these lines are perfectly parallel to each other. A guy that stutters shouldn't try to say 2 words with P's in a row. I'm going to take my fingernail though, and I'm going to kind of reach up under there just a tiny bit there, and I'm going to make a little mark with my fingernail. And what that is that's going to be where my glue stops. Okay, you can see those marks right there. Okay, so I need to do it here as well under this first pocket that we already sewed on. I'm going to put a little mark because I need to glue that one down as well. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough up these 3 sides right here, and then I'm going to put glue from that line, that little fingernail mark, all the way down, around, and back up to that little fingernail mark again. Okay, and then on this part I'll put just a tiny bit of glue up to that fingernail mark there, and then on the back of this I'll do it all the way around. Okay, but then on the back of this I'll put it along the back sides of these flat parts here. Okay. So, I explained it all, and I will explain it all again as I do it. Well, first I have to rough it. I'm opening my glue tube prematurely here. That's not a rougher, that's an etcher. There's a rougher. So, I'm going to take and rough up to that little line. You need to be careful because if you skive this, then it's you know, good and thin, and you don't want to screw it up. And again, I'm not roughing a lot. I'm just kind of getting a little bit of the finish off of that bridle leather. If this were natural veg tan, I wouldn't even bother roughing it. That glue would stick just fine. Okay, there we go. So, did my roughing, now I'm going to do my glue. Again, this is our water-based contact cement that I'm using. I've been playing with this stuff more and more, and I really like it. Even though since I recently had the Rona, I can't smell any of it anyway. That's most people's complaint with the standard contact cement is the stench. You know, it is chemical based, so it smells chemical based. This stuff, it doesn't really have any kind of smell anyway. Okay, so again, I'm just going right around the edges here. Very, very thin layer. I don't want it to take long to set up. And I'm making sure not to go past that little mark I made for my glue point, Okay, and again, I'll do the very back little wings of this card to hip pocket here. There we go. I'll set that piece to the side. And I'm going to do around 3 sides of this one. Remember, this is our finished edge right here. So I'm going to do the other 3 sides with a little bit of glue. All right. Now I'm going to pause the camera, and while I do, I'm going to do the same thing to both of these pieces. And when I come back, then everything will be ready to actually stick together. Okay? Excuse me. Okay, so all these are ready to glue down. First thing I'm going to do is just lay down that other pocket there. Okay, and push those pieces together. And again, I'm doing everything 3 times, so 3 times. Okay, now the other piece. I'm going to very carefully lay it on top of there, and I don't want to press any of the glue together until I know it's exactly where I want it. And once again, I'm checking all the sides to make sure that they're running this top line. I want to make sure that it runs perfectly parallel to the other card pockets. And then the other 3 sides, I want to make sure that they're lined up. But it's not as important that they're lined up, because I can always trim a little bit if needed. The most important is that these lines are going to be parallel. Okay, and so I'll press this one down. Okay, and you can use your hammer and tap around that and really get that good and set. You can use a roller, you can use a pair of pliers if you've got some of those like duckbill pliers that are so much fun. There we go. And then one more again, we're going to do that. There we go. And I'll just, since I've already got a hammer out here, I'll just tap these edges down. Okay. And again, that'll kind of help set that glue real nice and solid. Alright. Now on this piece, I need to do something a little different. Okay, this piece is going to go right smack in the middle, excuse me, of these pieces, okay? And I can measure it, you know, and make sure that the spacing's correct and all that. But I want it right in the middle, in between them all, okay? But I need to glue it down, and this side is going to be open. This is a pocket here, but this side needs to be down, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right there in the middle. Again, you can measure it if you want, but my eyeballs are pretty good at this. And I'm going to stick it right here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is take my fingernails and just mark right up underneath the back corners of it so that I know where it's going to set. Okay, and I'm going to take any of my template pieces or anything like that, and I'm just going to scribe a very light line. Again, this is going to be just directly under it, so I won't see this line when I glue it all together in a minute. Okay? But the other thing I want to do is I want to finish this back edge right here. Okay? I'm gonna trim it just ever so slightly. I mean, just a shaving to get those 2 layers right up on top of each other. And then I'm going to finish that edge with some toconol, just like we did the tops of the card pockets. Because that is going to be sewn directly to this piece right here, and I want it to have a finished edge. Okay, I don't want it to just be naked leather on that side. Because again, we try to make the most professional product we can, and leaving a naked edge on a finished wallet is not the most professional product we can put out. Okay, so I trim those off just ever so slightly so they're nice and flat and flush. Okay, and I'm going to take my edger and I'm going to burnish it. Okay, same way we burnished all those top edges. A little bit of token oil here, or whatever your preferred burnishing compound is. Honestly, quite a few things work well on this English bridle, but I happen to have this token oil sitting here from a wallet I made a couple of days ago that had alligator on it, and token oil works amazingly on alligator, so that's why it's sitting there. There we go. Nice, pretty edge. Now, I'm going to go back to this right here, and I'm going to rough up. Well, first I need to place it back where it belongs. Okay, so just over that line that we created. And I need to make me some little fingernail marks here, so I know where to stop my glue lines. Okay, and again, I'm going right up underneath the pocket. I don't want to see these fingernail marks after this project's done. Okay, so I need to rough up some areas again so that I can glue that part together. And I'm just going just to the inside of that line, and now I'm going to go up to my little fingernail marks here. Okay, back to the glue. And I'm going to put glue on 3 sides of this, and then these 3 sides of this. I have not decided what I'm going to do for the outside of this wallet yet. At first I was just going to do a natural veg tan exterior so it could patina naturally, but I don't know, maybe I really like using some of the exotics and stuff, so I don't know yet. I've got a whole bunch of alligators over here, but at the same time I'm trying to resist the urge to just make everything alligator nowadays. It has been fun to work with and everything, and I've got lots of wallet-sized pieces I could use, but again, it seems like everything I've been making lately has some sort of alligator something on it. I don't have a tooling pattern ready for this, or I'd tool something on it. I guess I could basket weave it or something. Excuse me. Alright, so I got some glue on here. And I'm going to use, I do not recommend this to folks to do at home. I didn't put glue on the back of this. I do not recommend this to folks to do at home if they don't, you know, basically I don't condone my own behaviors. But I'm going to use a torch to expedite the drying of this glue and the setting of it, okay? I need to use like a heat gun or something, but I don't have one, but I do have a torch. So, again, I do not recommend what I'm about to do, but for the purpose of making this video and getting it done, I'm going to do it. Do not try this at home, right? Okay. Alright. So I'm just going to hit it real quick, and it's just going to set that glue a little bit. Not long enough to melt my leather by any means. Alright, that's it. Again, please don't do it. Use a heat gun or a hair dryer or something smarter than that. If you do it, I didn't show you that. It wasn't me. Kind of like our chemical-based glue. If you want to set it real quick, set it on fire. But, again, don't do it. I didn't tell you to do that. Alright, so you see where the glue kind of bubbled out right there because it wasn't ready to set yet? I'm going to leave that there until it turns clear, and then I'm going to take my little awl and I'll just pick at it a little bit to pull that off there so that I can't see it. Okay, I'm not as worried about it up here on the top edges, because when we sand these edges down and everything, that'll be taken care of. But right there, that's I don't want to leave that like that on my final product. Okay. Okay, now what we need to sew now is we need to sew this, this, and this, the three tops. Okay. Now we can sew them individually per section, or we can just do one stitch line all the way across. I like the look of one stitch line all the way across. However, when you get down to where it's just one layer of leather, your stitches look just a little bit different, and I don't really like that. I am still going to stitch it all the way across, but again, and I'll zoom in on it when I have that part done. But I just, to me, it's really weird when you just do one layer of this 2 to 3 ounce. It just, the stitch looks different, and I hate that, because I want the stitch to look very consistent all the way across. Okay, I'm heating up my edge creaser. That's what I'm gonna make my line to do that stitch with. Okay, so I'm waiting on it to heat up. It should be done any minute. As a matter of fact, well, it's not hot. I need to wipe it down because it started to get some residue built up on it. There we go. All right, I'm gonna wait for this to heat up. I'm gonna pause the video, and when I come back, we'll crease that line. All right, this creaser should be warm enough to do this line now. Okay, and I'm just gonna go all the way across the top. And I'm just making a stitch line is all I'm doing. You'll barely even be able to see this creased line once the stitches are in place. Okay, so all the way across that, and I want to get it into these heels and stuff. You can use a wing divider, you know, if you don't have one of these fancy heat creasers. I've just been, like I said, I've been experimenting with this one more, and I do like it. It is not a necessity to own one of these. They are expensive. I know we discussed that earlier. All right, I also need to do this line right here. This is also going to be sewn down. Okay, all the bottom ones I'm not doing yet, because they'll be sewn to the final piece of wallet when we put the exterior on it. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna turn the creaser off so I don't forget. Now I'm going to use my 8 stitches per inch pricking irons. Remember, I just did a 6 on those interior pockets because they'll never be seen, and it's just faster. Okay, but I'm going to do an 8 stitches per inch on this part. Okay, so let me get my now there are a lot of people that do way better stitching than me. They pay more attention to the details and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I pride myself on my stitching, but I do a few things differently just for convenience, I guess you can say. And one of them is when I'm doing something like this, I don't want to just go along and just run this thing where it falls, because I don't want to cut the edge of one of my pockets. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pricking irons, and I'm going to set them in a manner that they're not cutting the edge of any of the pockets. Okay, so like right there, I'm starting it not at the very end down here, but right where I know that it's going to fall correctly on these pockets, and I'm going to give it a whack. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on all 3 pockets, and then when I come back to put everything together, I'm going to make sure that it all lines up. Okay, So the same thing here, I'm putting it to where it isn't cutting the edge of any of my pockets. And sometimes you can end up with a stitch that's a little bit larger than the others. And that's where, you know, there are people that have tons of little tricks on how to make sure that that never happens. I don't have any of those tricks for you. I apologize. I've just never experimented with it enough. Okay. I've got my little 2-prong out so that I can do these stitches here where the 8-prong doesn't fit. Okay. But like right here, okay, there's a stitch down here under this pocket, and then there's a stitch up here. I'll probably take an awl and create one little hole in between those two, just so that I don't have an extra long stitch. It seems like you don't notice having too short of a stitch, but you do notice when you have a longer stitch in there. So when I have to fudge it a little bit, I fudge a couple of short stitches over one that's too long. Hopefully that makes sense and I'm not just talking crazy. I don't have much voice left. I don't have enough to waste to talk crazy. Excuse me. And I'm at the point too, I have to decide what I'm going to do on with the outside piece, because I need to decide what color of stitch I'm going to do. And, you know, because I want it to either match or perfectly, what's the other word? Contrast whatever I do on the outside. So, okay, so I'm doing that stitch line that goes down the back of this center pocket here. Also, that glue is ready to be taken up there that I was talking about, where it seeped out right here. That's ready to come up, so we'll do that in just a moment too. I used to try, when I was stitching something like that, like let's say this line right here, I used to try to make it to where these stitches would go all the way into that top stitch there. But honestly, I've found that I think it looks a lot cleaner if I just leave a little space there and I don't try to make it go into the same hole as that top stitch that's going across. Personal preference type thing. It's just something, as I've refined my work, I feel like it looks better that way. So again, here's this little bit of glue here. I'm pulling out of here with a scratch awl. Being careful not to actually scratch anything, of course. There we go. Got her off. Okay, now I'm going to stitch one line across here, and then I'm going to stitch another line right here. But like I said, first I need to go and look through my stuff and see what I'm going to make this out of to know what color I want to stitch it. So when I come back, this will be stitched at whatever color I've chosen, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the back. All right, so got that line sewn in. And then I went ahead and I needed to sand the top a little bit just to even all those edges up. I considered trimming it, but it's just a little bit safer to sand. So I put it on my drum sander over there and sanded it. Now I need to finish that edge. I used a cream colored thread here that I have sitting around. It's not a thread we carry, it's one that I bought. You know, I buy all kinds of stuff seeing if it's something we should carry, and it's okay stuff, but I prefer our thread more. I did not use ours because I didn't have any cream sitting over here in my office, and I didn't want to walk to the store and get any. My office is not in the same building as the store. Anyway, so I'm going to edge this, and then we'll use that same token oil that we've been using on all of our other edges to make it pretty. I did decide on a dark brown English bridle back, okay, and that way it'll have a really nice contrast with the tan bridle. So yeah, so that's why I use this natural, like ivory colored type thread. It'll look really nice with that dark brown, and it looks nice with this tan. As I'm doing this edge, I realized I forgot to sew the line down there to sew the bottom of that pocket in, so I'm actually going to have to do that right quick after I finish burnishing this edge. This line right here. I guess I got distracted, or maybe excited, I don't know. But since I'm already doing the edge and I'm already on the camera here, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Okay, and the only edge I'm going to do is this top edge that I sewed. The other edges will be burnished later because they'll be part of the, when we sew the back onto the wallet as well. Okay, so we don't want to burnish them before that because they have other pieces to join them. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to get off here and burnish this edge. Again, I don't use any power burnishing equipment or anything. I just use a piece of canvas. I prefer that. But I'm going to burnish that edge, and then I'm going to sew that other line down, and when we come back, we'll cut out the back of the wallet and start our final assembly. Alrighty, so as promised, I sewed across the top of this part. I started about an inch in or so. Okay, now to put this thing together, it takes a little bit of finessing. Alright, so if you notice, the back of the wallet is longer than the front, or yeah, the wallet back is longer than the card piece. Okay, and again, that's to help it fold naturally. If you don't do that, then when you do fold it closed, you'll have a lot of wrinkles and stuff like that in here, and again, it's not a very professional product. So on a wallet like this, a bifold, a trifold, whatever, you have to sew it together in sections. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it from right here to right here, and I'm going to go ahead and punch my holes just in that area, and I'll punch them, of course, from the finished side here. Okay, and then once I get to that part, I will fold it over and I'll glue the next section into place. Okay, and I mean, we'll do that, I'll do it on camera and everything. I'll stop and show you how that's done. But that's how you get that natural fold in there. And again, then you'll have a very professional finished project once it's done. But for now, I just have to glue in this area right here. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing, my little fingernail trick. I'll line these two up. Put my fingernail just under that area right there and just make a mark so that I know where to stop with my glue. Okay? So I don't want glue in that little opening. Shiny is bad. Shiny is unprofessional. So, just right along the edge there. And then the same on the back of this, okay, just on those two sides. Okay. I'm going to pause the camera just for a second so that glue can set up, And then I'll show you me putting it together and punching the holes in just that section. Alright, so I'll give it a few minutes and then let the glue set up. Now I'm going to very carefully line up that bottom corner down there. And then once I know it's exactly where I want it, I'll press it all together. Okay, now I'm going to run my stitch line down this line and down to where that I know that piece has stopped underneath there. Okay, so just like any other stitch line, I'm going to use my my pricking irons and go down it. And then when I get down to the bottom, I'm going to turn the corner and keep going. I don't like to go all the way to the exact corner. I want to leave a little bit of space because I'm going to round that corner when we're done. Okay, anytime you have a very square corner with leather work, it creates a high wear point. And that part of this wallet will look very sloppy within about a week of somebody putting it in their pocket. So anyway, I'm going to use this same thread and I'm just going to continue around with my stitching as I go. And then when I get to that bottom part down there, I'll stop and come back and show you how we glue the rest of the wallet together so that we can continue stitching all the way around it. Alrighty, so I got that much of it sewn. Okay, that's not a lot, but that's what I've got sewn. Now, what I'm going to do here, I should not have sewn all the way to that last hole. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done that. I should have left a hole there, but I didn't. So, what I'm going to do is go ahead and punch one more set of punches here. Okay, if you're not using pricking irons or something like that, then you know, just do another inch or so just through this one layer, and then once we glue this together, then we'll be able to punch through all the layers. But we want to go ahead and do that now, and then we're also going to do it over here. Let me think on this for a second. I'm running a little slow today, I'm sorry. Basically, here's the deal, guys. We've got to glue this piece right here together, okay? And then once that glue is set up and everything's good and stuck, we're going to fold this wallet closed like that, and we're going to glue that center piece down, okay? But to do that, we have to have these holes already punched so that we can keep going all the way around. All right? So, first thing we're going to do is glue this side down. Okay, so once again, I'm going to line it up and make me a little mark here where I know that my glue is not going to run over this area here. There we go. It's been a long time since I've made a trifold, so I apologize for having a little... I'm not good at pre-thinking of what I need to say before I turn the camera on here. But if you've watched any of my videos, you already know that. All right. Get the glue out here. Okay. Glue, glue, glue. Okay, and then I need to do the same thing on the back of this piece. A little wild there, I need to wipe some of that off. You should see the bottom side of my desk. You know, and if you look under kindergartner's desk, you're going to see a bunch of boogers. And if you look under mine, you're going to see a bunch of pieces of tape and glue. Excuse me. Alright, so I'm going to let that glue set up for just a few minutes. Okay, I'll pause the video. And when we come back, we'll stick that together. And then I'll show you where I'm going to continue punching some holes. And then we'll glue the center part together. Okay? So I'll be right back. All right, here we go. I am running out of battery on my camera, so I'm going to go ahead and stick these pieces together here. I'm going to go ahead and tap on it with a hammer a little bit just to really set that. I'm going to have to work with it a little bit. And I don't. All right, so sure enough, mid-sentence my camera did die, but I caught it when it happened, and I wasn't continuing to work without my camera. So the last thing I did is I tapped this down right here. Okay. Now, what I want to do is kind of unconventional, I guess you could say, but I'm going to start over here in this corner and start working my way back with my pricking irons, right? And since that part's already glued, that's safe to do. But I want to get past this next point right here. I need to get past that. Okay. And once I do get, once I'm past this point right here, I'm actually going to stick my poundo board in between, just the corner of it, in between these layers, so that just like over here, I'm only punching this outside piece and not the inside as well. Okay. And then what we're going to do is, after that's done, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the inside bottom right here and the inside bottom right here, and I'm going to very carefully close the wallet and let all that glue together right there. Okay, and then when I do that, I'll go back with my pricking irons and go through all the layers, and somewhere in here I am going to have to make the pricking irons coming from this direction and the pricking irons coming from this direction link up. Okay, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I just want to tell you what all we're doing first. So again, I'm going to take and start at this corner and work my way back up. Okay, now on the back side here, I am past that point right there. So again, I'm going to take and put this, make sure I'm on camera when I do it, but I'm going to put my corner of my poundo board in here, and I'm just going to do a few more little holes. There we go. Now I can glue all this together, okay? my holes have run past the gap here and here, so when I glue all this together now, I can use those existing holes to repunch all the way through all the layers on both sides, and again, they're going to have to link up somewhere in the middle there. Okay, so a little bit of glue. Recenter my thing here so I know I'm on the camera well. All right. Just like everything else, a little dab will do us. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to put it right in the middle on the back side of this one. And then on the back side of this. Doesn't need to be a lot. As a matter of fact, the more we put on there, the longer it takes to set up. So there you go. All right, so those have some glue on them. I'm going to pause the camera while we wait on that to set up a little bit, and then we'll fold it closed. Alright, so that glue has set up enough. The easiest way I've found to do this, to make sure that it falls exactly where it needs to, is just to fold the wallet closed. Like that. Okay? And then we just press those edges together right there. Get them good enough and pressed that when you open the wallet back up, it's not going to pull it back apart. Okay, and then I need to hit that with a hammer or something, or squeeze it with pliers. I need to do something to marry that up really well. Okay, now I need to punch holes all the way across there. And the problem is this wallet will not, should not, be folded flat anymore. Okay, so we have a couple of options. One of my favorite options is to either grab a small anvil. I used to have a piece of rubber. It was a piece of this that was just, you know, a few inches wide, and I'd put it on an anvil, but I don't see it laying around. You can move this over to the corner or the edge of your workbench and do it that way, and that's probably what I'm going to have to do here. So let me adjust the camera angle just a little bit to where we can get to the edge of the bench. If it's on the edge of the bench, then I can fold half of it at a time and do it that way. Okay, and again, these two lines are going to have to marry up, and I don't know how well they're going to, so we just got to kind of get them closer together and figure that out. Again, there are videos out there. A fellow named Nigel Armitage or something like that. I mean, his stitching videos are beyond anything I could ever show you. So, you know, if you really want to get good at hand stitching, I highly recommend some videos that are focused more on that part of it. Okay. Now I've got my space here. I'm gonna just run my pricking iron across. I'll need to make sure I got all these other holes all the way through everything here, because I don't know if I did. Where I'm talking about is right here at the very edge. I don't know if I went back far enough to make sure that I went through all the layers there. So, all right. Now, when I put this pricking iron in here, it actually lines up, I mean, perfectly. 3 of the prongs are in 3 of the existing holes over here, and the last prong is in the last hole over here. So I'm just going to give it a whack. If they don't line up perfectly, remember what I said about 2 shorter stitches is better than 1 long stitch. Or maybe you even have to adjust 3 stitches, you know, to evenly space them out to do it that way. But just remember, again, if you do a stitch that's way too long, though, that'll definitely be recognized and seen in your final project before shorter stitches would be. Okay? So, all that being said, I'm going to continue stitching. And I'm going to just stitch right across that space right there and keep going on down the line. Stitch right across that space there, all the way to the corner. And I guess I can go ahead, too, and do my my pricking irons down this side here too, because I can just finish stitching the whole dang thing right here. We're coming up to the end here. And again, I don't go all the way to the dead corner because I am going to round these corners slightly before I'm done. And there we go. I'm going to stitch across the bottom, I'm going to stitch back up to the top, and then I'm going to continue that stitch all the way over to here where I'll overlap those last couple of stitches there, and that'll finish off my stitch. Yeah, so when I come back, that part will be done, and we'll do some edges, and this sucker's going to be a completed project. All right. We are stitched. One continuous stitch line all the way around. And then I went ahead while I was off camera and I just hit these edges up real quick on my my sander so that I can go ahead and burnish them. But that's it. This wallet's taken care of. So I was talking about I was going to round the corners, okay? And this is a Craft Tool corner punch. It's the smaller size of the 3 that they offer. We sell these in our store too, but this is one of my absolute most used Tandy tools for sure. It's pretty sharp, like right there. I just pressed it down and went through that little one layer corner, but this corner is going to be a little more difficult because it's all the layers. The biggest thing is you want to make sure and press straight down with it. If you do it at an angle, then your corner is going to be a little bit jacked up, and we've come too far to screw it up now. And again, this is out of the box. This tool is this kind of sharp. I haven't sharpened it. I haven't altered it. I may have stropped it once or twice, but that's it. Excuse me. All right, so now we're gonna do some edges, and we're gonna call this sucker done. And I'm super excited about it. This is probably the nicest trifold I've ever made. Here I've got a Berry King #2 edger, because these areas are a little bit thicker. But then across this top, I'm going to move down to a smaller edger because the edges are not that thick. It's just that one layer there is all we have to burnish up there. Get my cutting board out of the way so I can have a more solid surface to do this on. It can be difficult when you're going across the stacked pockets. You just kind of have to figure out what works best. Sometimes it's going one way, sometimes it's going the opposite direction. But you don't want to leave little corners overhanging, because even when you burnish, they're just going to be flopping there and they won't look right. All right. And then I'll flip it over. Now the hardest parts to round are going to be these areas right here where it kind of bubbles up. And those are thinner areas too. That's just one layer of leather there. So again, I'm going to try it, but I'm going to do it with a smaller edger anyway. I'm not going to use this one that I'm using on the thicker areas. I don't really have any secrets to tell you on how to do that area better, other than sometimes it works best to try to flatten it as best you can. But sometimes it works best to just to go ahead and fold the wallet and then just carefully go around that corner. It depends. I mean, sometimes leather, you know, even the same one side of leather has a lot of different characteristics in different locations. I don't know what part of the animal that I cut this wallet out of, because I just used some scraps. But if your leather is a little bit more floppy and stuff, like it came out of a shoulder or a belly, then it's not as easy to edge as it is out of the prime cuts of it, like the back and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to learn how to use it. I just got an email the other day from a fellow that, you know, he had just learned about the differences of the locations of the leather on the hide and how it might have different characteristics. For instance, things in the belly are more stretchy, and he was very concerned. He didn't want to make something out of, you know, the wrong part of the leather, I guess you could say. And I had to explain to him that really, for general stuff like these wallets and things like that, as long as you've got a nice piece of leather, it doesn't matter where it came from. You can work with it. A lot of the time where it really matters, you know, that you don't want to cut certain projects out of certain parts of the hide, is when you're getting down into like the belly and stuff and it is stretchy. You don't want to make belts or stirrup straps or something that's going to have to be real rigid and you don't want it to have any stretch. So, but otherwise, like I said, I mean, wallets and stuff, you can cut that out of anywhere you want. I'll cut a wallet out of the ugliest part of the leg, use a glass slicker to firm it up a little bit, and it'll work great. One of my 2-minute tooltip videos is on using the glass slicker to do stuff like that. And excuse me, and it became one of my most popular videos pretty quick. A lot of people learned on that one because not many people use a glass slicker anymore. So I was even talking to Berry King, and he said all of a sudden his glass slicker sales went up and he couldn't understand why. And So I showed him the video, and he was like, yep, that corresponds with the date that all of a sudden everybody was ordering them. So glad we could all help each other out. So anyway, all right, so all that's edged. I'm going to use my token hole, and I'm going to just do a section at a time. Like I'll go from here to here, and then I'll do maybe this section, and then I'll do this section. But I don't token hole the entire thing and then try to burnish the entire thing. Because parts of it will start to dry out and things like that, and then token hole gets smeared all over the place. And it's best to just take your time and do it a section at a time, and it'll work out a lot nicer for you. But that's it. That's the trifold wallet video for the trifold 2.0 with the individual leather pockets. I hope you learned something. If you're not already a subscriber, I hope that you consider hitting the subscribe button and watching more of my videos. I try to be as helpful as I can, and until next time, I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, and I hope you have a great day.